Welcome back to Iron Archery Outdoors, guys. We had a couple cool things here. Just finished up tuning up the old lady's new Bowtech Eva Gen 3. Sweet little rig. Goes like 23 to 29 inches. 24 to 29 inches. And this is a 40 to 50 pounder. And I'm going to tell you, there's some really cool things in this thing. If you have not messed with the deadlock, but the thing I like the most, honestly, is right here. This time lock. The time lock is sweet. I will hand that off to Bowtech on that. It is super sweet. You can get your timing on your cams ridiculously precise. But back to the video. We're going to do another little new product thing. This is actually the first one I've actually had to see in a store, and is actually the only one that one of my local shops had. I looked around numerous other shops. There's websites that don't even have all the pictures of these things yet. But I managed to scoop the only one at my local shop up. It was the only one, the first one they had in. And I'm going to tell you from coming from what I was at before, I'm happy I did, because this thing is sweet. You won't know it until you get your hands on one and actually look at it. But we are talking about the all-new Axcel driver. Okay, some sweet things of this thing. So you're probably wondering, I actually have the bridge lock edition. It's got the bridge lock bar. It's offset. And there's enough windage. Okay, let me take this back. There actually wasn't enough windage with the factory AVX 41 scope, because their scope rod is shorter. Okay, but I'm running the UV scope and they got a longer rod. But if you know anybody that ever took a drill to a $500 site, literally the first 10 minutes out of box, you're looking at them. And you're probably wondering, what the heck are you doing? You just voided the warranty. Here's my thing. I really don't care, because I honestly just made it better. So, and universal. So what I did is this piece right here that contains your third axis bracket to hold your scope rod. Here's your third axis adjustment. On here, see? So right there, it's gonna be kind of tough, so let me get something to point at it. So right here, right there, that little hole, there's actually a peg inside on the bottom piece here that rides on this and lets this piece pivot. Okay, but with this flipped, it sits way over here. So now, obviously it's a bridge lock edition, so that's why. Okay, you can see how that'd be an issue. That's sitting about right there, about centered with the other one. How that would be an issue, right? So what I did is I drilled a hole on the back side of this bracket underneath to match up with that peg, so I could flip this. The only thing that changes is this Allen screw is now underneath. Whoopity-doo, not a big deal. But you flip this thing over, and you basically gain probably almost a ½ inch with this from being over here. Well, probably actually more than that. Not sure my tape measures. But anyway, so the center of this would be sitting like over here. You would still be able to get it on here. It would work. But here's the nice thing. With this flip to the inside, you're offsetting to the bridge lock bracket, which, if you had a normal one, obviously, this would be over farther, and this would honestly probably end like up here, which, in my opinion, would even be better, because you're minimizing your leverage right here out on this scope rod, making this more sturdy. Now, if this is way over here, it's a lot easier to put more torque on here if you were to bump it in something or drop it or something, right? So, do I recommend doing it? Not necessarily. Unless you know what you're doing, you feel fairly confident of doing it. Okay? So, throwing that out there. The other thing I'm going to point out, the bridge lock adapter fits into the standard mounting bracket. Perfect. Okay? Just clearing that out. The other thing, I actually do like having the bridge lock mount on here because, for one thing, when you're on the back side of here, when you're holding the bow, right, you reach around, this is actually tucked over farther than prior, okay? But now, this is actually sits out a little bit farther. So meaning you don't have to, it's honestly easier to grab when you're holding the bow. It's easier to grab in a weird way. And it actually works out really nice. So if your local shop only has one of these drivers with a bridge lock and you don't have a bridge lock, just buy the mounting bracket and buy the bridge lock. Honestly, you're not gonna complain one bit. I'm telling you right now. It's honestly, I like it better than the standard bar. Okay. The other sweet thing, so they simplified a lot of stuff. I would show you, well, the other landslides on my lady's bow now, but so they simplified a ton of stuff up here. An absolute ton of stuff. Actually, let me grab it. Make life a lot easier here for a second. Okay. So we're gonna compare these two side by side, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So obviously, it looks like a totally, completely different sight. And to point out, they are. Literally. There's so many changes in this thing, it's ridiculous. My opinion, I think Axcel literally nailed this sight. The only thing that I hope they do as an upgrade to this is do a micro adjust third axis. You still kind of got to adjust it the same way as this one, as your landslide, because you still have to loosen these screws here to pivot your scope this way. It's the same thing here. It's a little bit easier to do on this one, I think, but I think they could do a micro adjust, and I think it would be an out of the park sight. The other thing they did, they put a bigger wheel, a bigger gear system here. So now when you're going up and down, you basically get a full length out of this with pretty much one rotation of the wheel. Okay, so you can really dial down pretty quick. Okay. They come factory with 3 indicators, which I got some weird thoughts about this. Don't bash me on this. But when I shot prior like 140 yards with my old setup on this bow when I still had 70-pound limbs, I'm shooting 80-pound limbs now. We were shooting 140 yards, and basically looking through my sight, that little bottom where the fibers come through the pin, and the top of the level was pretty much 140. So what I'm going to try to do with my third indicators, I'm going to try to dial that pin, or not the pin, but that hole, and get my third indicator here where I can match up to that and see if it works. Anticipating it to work? Not really, but hopefully I can find out. It'd be really cool. So back to the sight. Other things they changed is, you can see, their actual sight rail right here is one-piece design now. This piece here is bolted together. And I've actually had these screws right here loosen up a little bit, and all of a sudden I get a little wobble in the sight for some reason. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I thought maybe my first axis screws were loose, but they weren't. It was actually these screws back here. So make sure these things are tight. Okay, put a little blue Loctite or something on them, as long as you got your sight set up, because if you end up moving your bar and that's in the way, then you're kind of whatever. But obviously you're not SOL, because you can put this bar anywhere. So it's just an idea. But if you tighten them down good, you shouldn't really have a problem. Anyway, back to this. A one-piece construction rail. They actually combined the first and second axis on this thing right here. So you're setting your first and your second axis right here, okay? Because they eliminated a second axis adjustment. So your first axis / second axis, you have a micro dress screw. So you just crack these loose. Don't go super sloppy loose, but just a little snug, just so you can still turn this. And then your rail will, your bottom will tilt like this. It'll go back and forth. And it's super nice to adjust because there's a little peg inside of here that rides in one of these these holes, and then it pushes to the left or the right, moving the bottom or pivoting the bottom in and out. So super good idea. I love it. They put their windage adjustment here on the inside now. So I kind of like that, so it's not hanging out on the outside like over here. It kind of just extra clutter around the dial and all that stuff, which I think was probably kind of their main goal. They put their locking lever for your dial up on the top, which is nice. Makes it easy. You can kind of grab it with your thumb now when you're dialing from the other side. If you're like this, if you're reaching over, you can just, well, you can probably use it this way better. Use your finger, dial down, push it over. Or if you can get it with your thumb, whatever. Great idea. What else did they change? You still got your dead stop for when you run your sight all the way up, whether you want to dead stop it at 20 or 10, whatever. I like to go to 10 just because those closer shots. For the closer shots, 15, something like that. If you're shooting at real small little dots like on an NFA course or something, you can still dial up to them. It's the end of the world. No, most people don't shoot NFA shoots that are shooting these kind of sights. Whatever. But my personal preference, whatever. Another thing I will add to that I did check, but the factory, well, not the factory, but the actual non-bridge lock dovetail, I'm pretty sure it's the same thing. It's just different design. It's aluminum design, like this, how this one is, but it's straight, and you'll have your micro adjust. But this carbon bar does fit on this rail. So just clarifying that, it does fit. I checked it because I was debating on running this bar, but this worked out really nice, so I'm keeping it on there. The other cool thing they did do is they did different, they put it's kind of hard to see with the lighting. Go like this. So they did 3 holes on the top and the bottom of your sight tapes. So you can actually you got more adjustment there, which I think is partially why they have smaller slots on your indicators. So obviously you don't get quite as much movement out of them as you did with the landslide. Okay, so you can move them up and down. And you can move your tape up and down more. As of the landslide was just a fixed hole on the top and the bottom. Whatever, it's not the end of the world. Still a good sight, still works well. But the other really cool thing they did was that I'm actually really happy they did this. So for guys that really want to run a metal tape and want to reach out past 100 yards, your prayers have been answered. Where'd I put them? Uh-oh. Oh, they're over here. Is on this. As you see, obviously based on different speeds. Okay, so like this one is number 14, which is pretty close to kind of about what I'm running. They run a metal tape to 130 yards now. Well, technically 135. Super, super cool. I'm actually going to try to get a hold of more tapes, but obviously you get a little bit slower. You obviously lose yardage, but I think, they do have a 100-yard one here. Okay, so that's number 39, and the backside should be 40. Yep. So you get 100-yard in that one, but I think the fastest one I have that they send with is this 13 and 14 right here. So you're basically getting 135 yards off of metal tape. Super, super, super awesome. I love that they did this. Really awesome. So hats off to Axcel on that. My other pet peeve that I actually sold my other landslide today, because I had two, that it's kind of been aggravating for a long time, that I don't know why, because you get all your sticker tapes, you have a big assortment of numbers. I don't even remember what they start at, but they go up to 40, the number 40, like on this one right here, up to number 40. And I don't know what the fastest one is. Might be like 10 or something. If you get into like 10, you're flying. You're making some serious feet per second. Because with this setup right now, I'm running 302 feet per second with a 406 grain arrow. And I don't even know what tape. I build most of my tapes with precision cut, so I don't really know what the tape number would be. But I think it was pretty close to like 14. Somewhere in there. Maybe might be a little bit faster, I think. But anyway, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I don't know why they don't send you every single one of the metal tapes. I don't understand it. I don't. And so, like, when you're reselling a product, like, well, does it have all the metal tapes? Well, no, because they don't send you with all the metal tapes, and I don't use the metal tapes anyway. I just use it to put my sticker tape on. Sorry. But it's kind of frustrating, you know, the money we spend on these sites. Like this site in particular right here was basically $455 with your tax. It was $440 on the shelf. I mean, you're spending that kind of money. Why not send all of the metal tapes? I just don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. Why not have all the metal tapes to match all the sticker numbers? Make everybody's life better. Because I've had times where you'd land in between numbers. So, like, for instance, so there's 28, 26, so I got 25, 26, 27, 28, 40, 32, 14, 34, 22, and you get two 26s. Okay, so you have 13, 14, 21, 22, two 25 and 26s, a 27, 28, a 31, 32, a 33, 34, and a 39, 40. Why? Why? You should bare minimum still have a 9, 10, 11, 12, a 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 23, 24, a 29, 30, a 35, 36, a 37, 38, and your 40. So I mean, there's several tapes in here don't include. I do not understand it. It kind of it ticks me off. It kind of does. It really does. Like, if you're gonna do stuff like that, just send like 3 blank ones, so a guy could run a couple different tapes on them and just interchange the thing. Just have a backer strip. Okay, that's what I end up using these for anyway. But I mean, if I get all the numbers, I would probably be a little more prone to use one as a hunting tape because obviously there's no way this thing can get wet. You're dragging your bow through the wet grass. You're getting rained on, sleeted on, snowed on, whatever it may be here in Wisconsin. No, October, November, the season changes 100 times. And obviously that's the last thing you want to worry about. So when they get available, I'm going to buy the extra ones so I have them. But anyway, that is the update to the 80-pound Envision. 82-pound to be exact. But the new Axcel driver, if you get a look at one and you're shooting a landslide already, or an Axcel AccuTouch, or the Archive, whatever you want to call it, XP, and whatever else ones they got. But if you're shooting one with a dovetail mount, this bridge lock system does fit on the standard mount. The dovetail will work on a non-bridge lock bow. Honestly, I like it better than the standard dovetail bar. To be honest with you, that's me, my personal preference. I like it better. So, yeah, I hope that helps you out. And guys that kind of wondering certain things on what they changed and a more in-depth view of it, I hope that helped you out. And I hope maybe you'll end up with one. So, till next time, you guys hunt hard, hunt safe. We got some cool stuff coming up. We got more 3D shoots coming, more bow tunes coming. A lot of cool stuff going on. But until now, we got a big day tomorrow. Well, today actually, because it's like probably 1:30 in the morning. I'm going to get some sleep. So, hunt hard, shoot straight. Turkey hunt's right around the corner. And hopefully, this next video, pretty soon, is I'm going to kind of do a crash course on what I'm going to run for my turkey setup this year. It's going to be a little different than what I normally did. But I'm kind of excited. I think it's going to work really well. So, until then, stay tuned.